Okay, so I believe most of us have gone through the materials and as well as the recording for yesterday's class. So the recording is made available, was made available on the materials and resource group, as well as on the platform itself. So if you check the platform, the CareerEx platform, under class recording, you should see. Let me share my screen so you can follow me what I'm saying. Okay, so if you come here, if you come to the platform, you're going to see where we have class recordings. So you should be seeing this under the class recording tab, right? So this is the recording for week 1. So once you click on it here, you can easily just watch the recording directly here, or follow the link that I dropped on the materials and resource group, which will take you directly to YouTube. And yeah, you can just go through the class, yesterday's class. For those of us that missed the class, so the recording is available. Is available already. So I believe that shouldn't be an issue, because some of us have been asking for the materials as well as the class recording. So in case you missed it, it's available on the platform. All right. So today we're going to be looking at Python. Yesterday we introduced us. Before I even continue, let me just do a brief memory test. So can someone just tell us what we looked at yesterday? Like just succinctly, what did we do yesterday? What was the class about yesterday? So I want us to have that interaction before I proceed. Okay. For the person that can't hear me, just restart your, just close your Telegram app and open it. Hopefully it's going to resolve the issue. It's probably a network problem. So I can see differences between data science and data analytics, introduction to data science, foundation of data science, meaning of data science, foundation, pipe life cycle. We talked about what data science is, differences and tools and life cycle. So yeah. Basically, we looked at data science yesterday. Generally, like we tried to explain what data science is and introduce it to us. So I believe we are all comfortable with the concept at this point, right? If you are to be asked what data science is, it shouldn't be a strange thing to you anymore. At least you should have an idea of what data science. You should be able to explain it to somebody if you are asked. Those that are raising their hands up, please, can you drop your hand? Please drop your hand. When it's time for question, I'm going to request you do that. So please just drop your hand. If it's by mistake, just tap on the icon that is in front of you, so you can drop your hand. It's so I know what we are doing here. So please drop your hands. Please drop your hands. So we'll proceed with the class. I'm not taking any question now. The questions will be at the end of the class. Innocent, Abigail, Adeyinka, Abdurrahman, Engineer Naruddin. Please drop your hands. Please just click on the button in front of you, like on your screen, so you drop your hand. It's kind of distracting. All right, thank you, Judah. So today we are going to be looking at what Python is, All right, but before we go into the class proper, I just want to take us through the setup. I dropped a video yesterday. That would guide you on how to install a particular software application, which is Anaconda. So yeah, Anaconda is the central application that we're going to be using. It's a very popular app for data science and machine learning, right? So if you are going to be doing data science, it's expected that you have Anaconda installed. All right. So, but we are not going to be using the entirety of that particular app. So what we'll be using in Anaconda is mostly Jupyter Notebook. So the reason why I needed us to install Anaconda was because it was basically to reduce the baggage of installing different things, because Anaconda is a packaged application that installs Python, installs Jupyter Notebook, as well as so many other libraries we are going to be using. All right. So I thought I told you about some of the libraries we're going to be working with in Python. So I hope we still remember them. So can someone just give us one or two of those libraries I talked about yesterday that we'll be working with in Python? Just quickly, someone should just give us one or two libraries that we're going to be working with. Okay. NumPy, pandas. All right. So I can see that we're actually up to speed. So that is actually nice. You see, so we're going to be working with this library. So to work with them in Python, you have to install them, right? So it's actually nice having them pre-installed rather than going through the hassle or the stress of installing each one of them separately. So Anaconda packages everything for you. So once you download Anaconda, you don't need to download any other thing. You just start your work. So that was why I asked you to download Anaconda. I don't want to go through the different processes of installing Python, installing Jupyter Notebook, installing NumPy, installing this, installing that. All right. So, and for those of us that are yet to install it, yeah, probably after this class should be able to do that. There is really nothing difficult about that. So now I'm going to assume that we have our Anaconda installed. All right. I don't want to go through the I don't want us to take time doing the installation here. So I would assume that we already have Anaconda installed. For those of us that are yet to install it, you can just ask your colleagues on the group, and they would just guide you through the installation process. So now we've installed Anaconda, right? So if you're using a Windows laptop, you should be able to see Anaconda once you open your app menu. All right. So let's let me share my screen so you can see my entire screen. So taking you through that. All right. So as you can see on my screen here. All right, so as you can see on my screen here, if you're on Windows, you can just basically open your app menu, go to all apps. Like it might be different depending on the Windows version you're using. If you're using Windows 11, then I think it should be exactly the same step as what I'm showing you now. If you're on MacBook, you probably have the same thing, but probably with a different name. Just follow the step I'm going to be taking you through. So you just go to where you have your apps, and you should see Anaconda. If you've installed it, you should see Anaconda as a folder. All right. So Anaconda should be displayed as a folder, and it's something you can expand. So you click on this icon, expand icon, and then you see several applications under this particular folder. So what we want to open in Anaconda is basically Jupyter Notebook. All right, so this is what we want to like get access to in Anaconda. We want to get access to Jupyter Notebook, right? So there are different ways to open Jupyter Notebook. The first and easiest way to do it is basically to just click on Jupyter Notebook here. All right. So once you click on Jupyter Notebook, it's going to it's going to spin up a server basically. So this Jupyter Notebook is like a platform where you write Python codes, right? So, but it is designed in a way for data scientists to write their code and do all of the data analysis and machine learning that they will be doing, right? So once you click on it, it's going to kind of spin up a server and then open on your browser. So Jupyter Notebook it runs on the browser. You don't need internet connection, but it creates a server on your local machine and then spin up a user interface on your server where you can work on it. So you don't need to do any other thing. Once you click on the Jupyter Notebook, you just wait for some seconds and then you'll see something like this, right? So depending on the browser you're using, you're going to probably have it displayed differently. But so I already have the Jupyter Notebook up already, but I'm doing it again so you can see exactly how we can open it, right? So it opens directly on your browser, and you can see that you have your file system here. So what I want every one of us to do, so take this as an action point for this particular program. Go to your desktop or your document or wherever, but preferably your desktop, and create a CareerEx folder. All right, let me go back here. Create a CareerEx folder. So you can see here now that I have a folder called CareerEx. All right. So this is where I have all my materials, everything that I'm going to be doing stored. So it kind of help you organize yourself and track the files that you're creating, your assignments, and all the files that I'm going to be uploading as well. You can download them and store them in this folder. So this is an action point for every one of us here. So Joy said my voice is not clear. Is this peculiar to her, or is it a general issue? Let me know, please. Feedback quickly. Is it peculiar to just Joy, or okay, thank you. So I believe it's your network. The reason why I do this is because I want to make sure everybody is carried along. All right. So Joy, I feel this is just your internet connection. So try to reset your internet, and hopefully you're going to get a better reception. All right. So everyone should create a folder, right, on your desktop where you store everything. So the assignment I'll be giving you, you store it there so you can have a kind of organized folder for everything you'll be doing throughout the course of this program. So once you do that, you can now go to that particular folder and then create a file. So the file we are going to be working with during this program from beginning till the end is what we call IPYNB, right? So to create a new file, right, you just come on this particular part of the let me try seeing if I can zoom in. All right, so you come here and then bring down the you click on the icon, which will give you several options. So what you do here is to create a new notebook, right? So once you create click on notebook, it's going to automatically create a file for you called IPYNB. So IPYNB is called a it's an acronym for IPython notebook. So this is a different version. If you've worked with Python before, you know that Python file extension is .py. But for this notebook, it is called IPYNB. So this is what we have here, IPYNB, which basically means interactive Python notebook, right? So this is what it means here. So it's an abbreviation, IPYNB. So this is the file that we will be working with throughout this program. All right. So when you are given an assignment, you'll be expected to work with this kind of file. You'll be expected to create an IPYNB file, do your assignment, and then submit. I'm going to show you how to submit your assignment in a few minutes. All right. So that's it for opening Jupyter Notebook, right? So I'm not going to go through the other steps, but because this one is quite straightforward. So once you get your Anaconda installed, just go to your menu, and either you search for Anaconda, you go through the list of application, bring down the icon, and then select Jupyter Notebook. All right. So that is very, very straightforward. It's just as simple as that. All right. So that is it for that. Now, our assignment is going to be in form of I'm going to be giving us assignment weekly, as I've said before, and you'll be expected to submit the assignment in this IPYNB file, right? So this is very, very important. I don't expect you to submit your assignment as a PDF or as a Word document. Very, very important. Your assignment should be submitted as an IPYNB file. So once you finish your assignment, once you finish coding and all of that, you just come to your file and then save notebook. Once you click save notebook as, you can now rename the notebook, right? So basically what you do is just change it to your name, right? Change it to your name, and then well, let's say, for instance, I want to submit my assignment. I'll come and just say Emmanuel Annie, all right? And I'll say week 1. So this is the format I'm expected to see, right? This is the format I'm expected to see when you submit your assignment. So once you do this and you save, so you can see that the name of the file has been changed, right? So for submitting or for submission of assignments, now prior to now, we usually use Google Classroom for assignment submission, but because we now have a platform, like a web platform, we are trying to move and migrate everything to the platform. So what you'll be expected to submit on the platform. So first off, the assignment should be submitted on the platform, all right? And what you're expected to submit is a link. So you're expected to submit a link to your assignment. So once you finish your assignment here, you need to upload your assignment file to Google Drive. Now, we've talked about the first step, which is creating a folder on your computer, on your local computer, CareerEx, where you store all your all the files that you're going to be working with. All right. So let's see. Okay. So where you store the files you'll be working with, then you come to Google Drive. I believe everybody has a Google account. So you open Google Drive. Let me go back here. So your Google Drive you should be seeing something like this. So when you go to your drive, this is your drive here. You should create a new folder. All right. Create a new folder. Come here and say folder, not folder, upload rather. New folder. All right. And then name it CareerEx cohort 3, and then create. So you open the folder And this folder is where you are going to be uploading all the assignments that you've done. So this is the flow. You create a folder on your desktop. You open your Jupyter notebook and navigate to that folder. So once you're in that folder, you can create your assignment files, right? Depending on the assignment you are given, and then do your assignment. Once you are done with your assignment, save it, and then come to this particular and come to Google Drive, create another folder and name it whatever you want to name it. I just gave an example here. And then open that folder and upload the assignment that you've done in this folder. So uploading is very straightforward. So how you upload it is just to come here, click on new, and then click on file upload. All right. So you click on file upload, and then you just navigate to where your file is. So for instance, you can see that my file is here, Emmanuel Ani week 1. All right. So I'll click on it. This is my assignment. So once I click on it, it should automatically add it to this folder I've created in my Google Drive. So what I need from you is the link from this particular Google Drive. So how you get the link is just coming to this particular icon, 3 icon, click on it, and then come to share. So you come to share and then copy the link. So once you copy the link, this is what you are meant to submit on the platform. So once you go to the platform, the reason why I'm not going to do a demo of the platform is because my own interface is different from your interface, because I'm the tutor and you are student. So you should see a provision. Provision is made for assignment submission. So once you get to where the assignment is on the platform, you just paste the link where you are meant to paste it, all right? And then you click submit. So this is just what I expect from you. I hope that is very clear. So for those that didn't understand or that didn't follow up to this point, you can go back to the video and watch, right? So we need to move very, very fast because we have a lot to do today. All right, so I hope that is very clear. I hope that is clear. Please, I need feedback from you all. I hope that was clear enough. All right. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so great. Let's move on to the business of the day. So let's move on to the business of the day. So today we are going to be looking at Python. All right. So we're going to be looking at Python. Just let me give me some seconds so I can share my screen. All right. So please, can you confirm on the group if you can all see my screen? All right. So as I said yesterday, how we do this is session by session. Yesterday was session 1. Today is session 2. So the next one is session 3, and like that. All right. So welcome to session 2, week 1. Today we're going to be looking at Python programming basics. So this is an introductory class to Python. All right. So as I said before, we're going to be using Python for the most part of this program, right? So we're going to be working with Python generally. So it's essential that we have a solid foundation. So for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be building on the foundation of Python, right? Before we move to the real work itself, before we move to using and making use of the libraries for data analysis and data science. So, but for in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be looking at Python and some very important concepts in Python that you need to understand. All right. So I hope you are all with your system. You don't necessarily, if you can't actually follow along with what I'm doing now, you can just follow with the class. When you get the recording, you can now take your time and follow at your own pace. But make sure you understand and you grasp what I'm explaining today. All right, so we will be looking at several things today. These are the this is the basic part of Python. Probably will not be able to finish with everything today. So wherever we stop, we'll continue with that next week. So for this particular session, we're going to look at Python overview of Python. Then we'll look at importance and application of Python in various industries. And we will then move into syntax and indentation, then look at variables and data types, look at type conversion, look at print statements, look at comments and doc strings, look at basic arithmetic operations. Right, so this is the basic aspect of Python. We'll probably not finish with everything today, and I don't want to overwhelm us. I want us to take it bit by bit. So when you have a child that is still growing, you're trying to feed the child, you try as much as you can not to give the child too much food, because he can only take a little at a time. So you give the child a portion of food, let him digest that, give him another. So that is that's how I'm going to approach this particular lesson. So I'll give you bit by bit, and wherever we stop today, we continue from next week. All right. Although the recording will only be made available for you, so you can work at your own pace. All right, so straight to business. So what exactly is Python? We've been hearing about Python, so I know we have a vast we have a variety of students here. We have those that are familiar with Python already. We probably have those that are very good with Python here. We have those that are up to other programming languages. We have those that are completely new to Python, like you don't know anything, right? So I'll try as much as I can to carry everybody along. And please, I'll need your very attention. So Python is a general purpose, high-level interpreted programming language. Now, there are a lot of things to unpack from here, and I don't want to go deep into okay, someone just mentioned attendance. That reminds me. So attendance would kick off by 6 p.m. and end by 6:30. So take note, there is no allowance today. If you miss that time frame, you've missed it. Attendance to kick off by 6 and then close by 6:30 p.m. All right, so take note of that. So Python is a general purpose, high-level interpreted programming language known for its clear syntax, readability, and versatility. So if you're a computer science student here, or you read computer science, you should understand all these things that I just mentioned. So first off, Python is a general purpose. So general purpose basically means you can use Python for a lot of applications. It is not restricted to a particular application. It is it can be used for several stuff. It can be used for data science, as I mentioned. It can be used for web development. It can be used for cybersecurity. It can be used for game development. It can be used for almost anything that you can think of. Like, it is so vast in its applicability. So that's why we call it general purpose. So there are some programming languages that are kind of narrowed down to specific use cases. Like, for example, JavaScript. JavaScript is built for web development, basically, right? So you can see now that Python is not restricted in that manner, right? So it is open to a lot of applications. So for the sake of what we'll be doing here, we're going to be using Python just for data science. All right. So it is also high level. It is general purpose. That is one point. It is high level as well. So these are just computer stuff, that basic computer stuff. So high level basically mean it's something that we humans can actually read and understand, that we can actually interact with. So what the language, okay, can someone just tell me what language the computer understand? Computers generally understand. I think this is computer 101. What languages, or what language, sorry, do computer understand? That's actually nice. So I feel a lot of us here are computer savvy. So yeah, you're all correct. Computer understands zeros and ones, right? So that is what the computer needs to see, right? So when we code in Python, we're actually coding in a high level language. The reason why it's high level because it is abstracted, all right, to a level where we humans can actually easily interact or use it. So you know how it would be almost impossible for us to start writing in computer language, like writing in zeros and ones, right? Trying to like code all the instructions that we want to give a computer in zeros and ones. It would be so hectic. We're going to consume a lot of space typing out zeros and ones. So it is inefficient basically. So developers of programming language deemed it fit to um, create these higher level languages. Python is an example of that. JavaScript also is an example, and so many of these languages that you know. So that is what high level in this case mean. So it is a general purpose, high level, interpreted programming language. So interpreted actually is also a computer concept as well. So Python itself is an interpreter. So it actually takes in the Python code that you've written and translates it into what the machine will understand. So those ones are not for us. Yeah, right. It's actually it's a different thing entirely, different part entirely when we start to talk about compilers and interpreters. So there's some programming languages are not interpreted, they're rather compiled, like C and all of that, right? But Python is an interpreted programming language. So it doesn't compile the entire code at once, it just interprets it on the go, right? Line by line. So you don't need to understand this thing I just said, but if you understand it, that's fine. It's not necessary to understand the rest of what we'll be doing today. So these are just basic computer knowledge that is good to know. All right. So and I said it is known for its clear syntax with the ability and versatility. So Python is one of the most easiest language to read. Is the closest programming language to English language. Like when you see Python, though for a beginner it might look intimidating, but if you compare it with other programming languages, Python is the closest to English language. It is so clean in its syntax. It doesn't have a lot of punctuations and all of those things that you might see in other programming language. It is very, very easy. So it's always advised that if you want to start the program, if you want to learn programming, you start with Python because it's beginner friendly, very, very beginner friendly. So it has it is known for its clear syntax, readability, the same thing I just explained, and versatility. So it is versatile, as I've explained. It can be applied in several applications or several situations. So it was developed by this man and it was first released in 1991. So it's been up like for more than 30 years now. Yeah, so now Python has since become one of the most popular programming language. So like almost everybody that works with computer have an idea of Python. Like it's a very popular programming language, right? So you probably would interact with it one way or the other. So for us as data scientists, it's our primary language. So should be your main focus. You should master it. You should know it in and out. Python should be like the back of your hand. Like you should know it like the back of your hand, right? So we are going to look at that. We are going to like go through that journey, and I assure you, it's going to be a very interesting journey. All right. So let's just look at a few of these points and then we'll move on. So Python design philosophy emphasizes code readability. So people that were designing Python, they actually focused on how readable it is, like I explained. So Python is a very clean and readable programming language. It doesn't have a lot of jargon and a lot of others things that you might see in other programming languages. It's straightforward, very straightforward. If you want to perform a particular task, something that will take you like 10 lines of code on maybe C plus or C plus plus, C sharp or C plus plus, it will take you like 2 lines of code or even sometimes 1 line of code in Python. So you can see how Python was adapted to be very easy and readable, right? So, and it also allows programmers to express concepts in fewer lines of code compared to many other languages. So, like, these are the things that you need to know. So Python has this abstraction, right, that enables you to do something in 1 line of code or 2 lines of code that might take you like 10 lines of code in another language or in another programming language. So it is very easy. It's very, very easy to write in Python. So now let's look at the what we have here. So it supports multiple programming paradigm, including procedural, object-oriented, and functional programming. So all these things are just programming jargon. You don't necessarily need to know them. So it's good to know, right? But it's not necessary. So I'm going to be letting you know the things that are good to know, but are not necessary to know. So making it incredibly flexible for various applications. So if you are a software engineer, you should understand what all these things mean. All right. So if you want to like look at Python officially, you can click on this link and it will take you to their website. I think I tried sending in this material. The thing is, I was supposed to send it, but I was unable to. So immediately after the class, I'm going to send it so you can go through it yourself, right? But for now, please just pay attention. All right. So if you click on this website, on this link here, you take you to Python's website. All right, so you'll see everything that you need to know. So one thing about software development or tech generally is that they have good documentations. Documentation is basically a well-detailed document on how to use a particular thing. So Python has a document on how to use Python. So if you go to this link, you will see you can see a lot of things here. Beginner, if you're a beginner, this is your beginner guide. If you are a moderate person, this is your. So these are the different places to go if you want to learn officially from Python themselves. So if you click on beginner's guide here, it's going to take you to where you have the documentation for the beginners. So these are the things that you would see. So getting Python base, learning Python, and all of that. So you can, if you are curious, you can actually go through this. It will help you. So these are different quizzes that would. So this is from Python directly on their website, although there are different platforms that you can learn Python on and YouTube tutorial, but this is directly from the host's mouth, if I should use that. So let's go back to what we have here. Now we've looked at what Python is. I believe it should be clear to us now. So are we good to go? Can we move on? Is there any issue? Yeah. All right, so let's continue. Okay, so we have applications of Python. We have web development, as I've explained. We have data analysis and visualization. We have machine learning and artificial intelligence. We have scientific and numerical computing. We have software development. We have automation and scripting. We have education. So these are the different most popular applications of Python. As I said, it is a general purpose and versatile language. So you can use it for web development. You can use it. There are different libraries like Django, Flask. We have Fast API that help you to develop web apps, right, using Python. So it can also be used for data analysis and visualization. So libraries like Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, I've talked about yesterday, they are also powerful tools for data manipulation, statistical analysis, and visualization, right? So we can also use Python for machine learning and artificial intelligence. So we have Python like scikit-learn, we have TensorFlow, we have PyTorch. So what makes Python versatile are actually the libraries that we have. So if I come and I say I want to develop a library in Python that can be used to do something, it kind of adds to the functionality of Python generally. So the libraries are actually what enables Python to have this versatility. So we have scientific and numerical computing for a lot of scientific stuff. If you're into research, if you're a physicist, if you're a nuclear rocket scientist, and all of those things that require calculation, precise calculation, Python actually would run it for you. So there are several libraries that can be used for it. So we also software development as well, which I've explained, automation and scripting, education. So Python is mostly used as an introduction to programming in some schools because of how clear its syntax is and understandable. All right. So can we all see the screen, please? Can we all see my screen? All right. Okay, so let's move on. So we are entering the main theme. So we are moving gradually. We are basically building our knowledge. So I need us to follow along so you will not miss road. So now, the first thing first, we've looked at overview of Python. You've looked at the importance and application, importance and application of Python. Someone is saying that they are hearing a cracking sound. Is that general? Or is it just from the person's end? Anyway, so let's move on. We've looked at the importance and application. So we're now going to look at syntax and indentation. So let's look at that. So now we are going to start getting our hands dirty. All right. Let me quickly create a new file. So I'm going to create a new notebook here. All right, so now I'm going to try to set up the this particular notebook where I'm going to demonstrate some of these things to you. And before we look at Python syntax and indentation, I want to explain how to use this Jupyter notebook. So as you can see on my screen, we have a notebook in front of us. So we have a rectangular border that is tinted blue. So that is called a cell. All right. So we call it a cell, C-E-L-L, right? So we call it a cell. So I need you to get familiar with some of these terminologies. So this cell is where we write our code and write every other thing that we might want to write. So you can actually change the state of this cell. So if you want to write code, you can change it to accept code. If you want to write text or what we call markdown, you can change it to accept markdown. So markdown is a form of text that can be styled. All right. So that's why it's called a notebook generally, right? You are writing your code and you're also explaining your code and you're also like putting in some notes and all of that. So it's in a form of notebook. So when you save it and you send it to somebody, they can just go through it and they will see how the flow of your work and kind of understand how you organize everything. So you get to use it and you get to understand it, because this material I have here, everything was written in a notebook. So it's not just code that you'll be writing in this notebook. So I wrote this thing there using Markdown. So if I double click on it, you see that it is inside a cell. So this is the same cell that we had before, but I changed it to accept Markdown. So the way I did it was that you come up here to this particular place. So let me go back to what I had before. So the default state of each cell is a code state. So once you type anything here, the cell assumes that you want to write a Python code. So if I come and I say print hello world, so you can see that it's already doing syntax highlighting, because it knows that this particular cell is receiving a Python code. So if I run it, it's going to work, right? Because this cell is in a code state. If I change this to a Markdown, it's no longer going to be in a code state, right? Because the cell has been changed from this code state to a Markdown state. If I run this, it's not going to do anything. What it's going to do is just going to display it as a text. So a Markdown is a way to write text, right? But you can actually style that text. So we will not dwell much on that, but I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to write Markdown. So for instance, if I want to make this text to be bold, I can come here. Let me change this text. Welcome to data science class. So this is the text I want to write, all right? I'll run it. But I want to make it to be bold. I want to make it bold. I can just come here and put double asterisks. You can see that it is bold now, right? So that is what Markdown is. Markdown gives you the flexibility to style your text as you want. So there are a lot of symbols that you can use. So I think for italics is for italics is just one asterisk on both ends. So if you want to put bold and italics together, you use your underscore, double underscore on both ends. So for bold, you can use both double asterisk or double underscore. So the reason why you have that option is because if you want to make your text be both bold and italicized, you cannot just come and put the asterisks like together. You just have to change the symbol. So if I do this, so that it's both bold and italicized. So I just want you to get the idea of what a Markdown is, so you can style your text. Because the reason why I can do this is because this cell is in a Markdown state. If I change it, let me put this here. If I change it to a code, you can see that it is now assuming that what I wrote here is a code. If I run it, it's going to give me an error because it's trying to interpret this content here as code. So you need to understand this particular. You need to understand this particular action, right? So you either change from code to Markdown or Markdown to code, depending on what you want to do. So let's just go back to Markdown. Let me show you some few things. So if I want my, let's say I want to write a header. I want to write a header. I can just come here and put the hashtag symbol. So what the hashtag symbol does is that it basically tells the editor that this particular text that's in front of the hashtag is a header. If you've done HTML, you know that we have different kinds of header. We have H1, we have H2, we have H3, we have H4. So H1, if you use H1, the text that is in front of it will be the biggest. If you use H2, it will be smaller than the H1. H3 is smaller than H2. H4 is smaller than H3, and so on and so forth. All right. So this H1, H2, H3, they are represented by hashtag in Markdown. All right. So in this case, if I use just one hashtag, it means that I want my text to be the biggest, to have the biggest header size. So if I run run this cell, you see that it enlarged the text, right? It gave it the biggest header size. If I come here and I put another hashtag, that is the H2, see that it's smaller. If I come here and I put the third one, if I put another one, so this is basically the idea of Markdown. You can style your text to whatever it is you want to do. So there are a lot of things to learn. I will send materials for you to reference materials for you to learn different symbols and different ways you can style your text. So that is just by the way. So now that we are here, you can always change your cell to code if you want to write code. So let's go back to our material here. So you can see here that I use the first hashtag to make this bigger. So in this second cell, if I click on it, you see that there are a lot of things happening here. So I wanted to link each of these outline to each of the content that I have here. So that one is a different thing entirely. So when I send the material, you can just play around with it and see how I did it. So we won't have time for that in this class. So now we are looking at Python syntax and indentation. So now, as I said before, syntax is actually how you structure a particular language. So English language has its own syntax, all right? We are very used to it. We know that when you write a word, you start from left to right. When you are done with a particular word, you give space and then the next word. If you want to start a new thought, you put full stop, or you start from a new paragraph. So all these things are actually syntax, English syntax. So there are actually ways in which your language is structured so that someone reading it will understand that, oh, this is actually English language. All right. So brackets, comma, full stop, all those things that you do when writing, they're actually syntax. All right. For another example is like the Arabic language. You know, the Arabic language has a different syntax on its own. I really don't know much about Arabic, but I know they start from right to left, and there are actually different ways in which they put down or they write their language. So you need to understand the syntax of a language for you to understand that language, right? Or for you to know how to write that language, read and understand it. So Python is a language, and Python has its own specific syntax. So that is what we're going to be looking at throughout this basic class and the advanced class. So you'll be learning syntax pretty much, even like towards the end of the program, because you would always be learning new things. All right. So we're going to be looking at syntax and indentation. So there's something that is peculiar to Python. It is called indentation. So let me just using this place. So I'm going to change this to Markdown. Python is peculiar for its indentation. All right. So other programming languages use different ways to arrange their code. But what Python uses in arranging or organizing its code is what we call indentation. So indentation is something that is not strange to us, right? In English, we already know what an indent is. An indent is basically like a space, right? If you want to start a new paragraph while writing in English, what do? You leave an indentation, right? You just leave a little space and then you start writing. So that's what an indentation is. So in Python, we use indentation to organize code. Just keep that at the back of your mind, all right? So Python is renowned for its straightforward syntax and strong emphasis on readability, like strong emphasis on readability, which sets it apart from many other programming languages. So now, for the syntax, it refers to the set of rules. What syntax is that? It refers to a set of rules that define how a Python program is written and interpreted. So if you don't follow the syntax rule in Python, you are always going to get an error. All right, you are always going to get an error. So there are rules for you. There are rules to writing Python code. Let me just give you an example. So for instance, now let's say I want to write a very, very simple code. Let's say I just want to print something. Let's say print this is an example of a bad syntax. in Python. So now, if I run this code, many of you will think it will run, but it actually won't run because I'm not following the syntax rule. And I'm going to tell you what exactly I'm not following here. So yeah, I'm going to run it. You see that I'm getting an error. Python is not understanding this, right? What is happening under the user, when I run this particular code is taken by Python interpreter and it looks at it and tries to know if you follow the syntax rule. If you don't, it's going to give you an error. Say, no, you didn't follow the rule. Correct your mistake and send it back to me. All right. So in this case, I actually omitted a quote at the end of this text. All right. So that's a syntax rule. Don't worry, I'm just giving an example. We're going to look at how we can write this kind of thing. This is a very straightforward code. So if I come here, you can see the Python error can actually help you a lot of time to fix your errors. So if you're able to read the error, you see that cell 3 here, which is this line 1, syntax error. So we have different kinds of error in Python. So the first one is, this one we are looking at is called syntax error. So what error is this? Unterminated string literal. So these are English that you are going to be seeing while you're writing your code. Sometimes you don't even understand what it means, but it just kind of give you an hint of where the problem is. So it's telling you basically that you forgot to close the quote in this particular line of code. So if I come here and close the code and I run it, you see that it ran perfectly because I have now followed the syntax rule. So the arrangement of code is basically the syntax. So you need to know how to arrange and organize your code and follow the instruction and the set of rules that each programming language has set up for you to follow. I hope we understand. I hope we are following. Am I too fast? Am I too slow? Am I like, I need feedback. I need feedback from everyone. Like, how is it going? Are you following with what we've said so far? All right. So I'm going to be opening attendance now. So you would have 30 minutes to sign for today, to sign your attendance for today, basically. So you can go ahead and sign your attendance. All right. Don't worry, for those of us that are not following, you always have the recording, and you can ask your questions at the end of the class. So just take note, or you keep note of your questions till the end of the class. So now let's move on. So unlike languages that uses semicolon or parentheses to delimit blocks of code, Python uses indentation. So what this is trying to say is that other programming languages use what we call semicolons to kind of separate code and organize code. But what Python uses in separating and organizing its code is called an indentation. Like, I'm going to repeat this. Python uses indentation to separate block of codes and to organize its code. All right. I will say for the last time because this is very important. Python uses indentation to separate code blocks and organize code. Very, very important. Let's move forward. So indentation is a core aspect of Python syntax. It refers to use of white space. So anytime you see white space in anything we are doing, just know it basically means space. All this grammar is just unnecessary. So white space means space, although there are technical reasons for that, for using this particular name. But just now, white space is space. So you can use tabs on your system, on your laptop, or space to create an indentation. All right. At the beginning of the line, you can use it at the beginning of the line to define the level of nesting and scope of a block of code So don't worry, I'm going to explain this so you don't get confused yet. So in Python, all statements with the same distance to the right belong to the same block of code. The amount of indentation is not fixed, but all lines of code within the same block must be indented the same amount. So basically, I'm trying to explain how we use indentation in organizing our code. So for instance, now, let's say I want to write a code, and we're going to get to this point, but this is just an example. So I want to write a for loop. I can come and say for I in range 10. Now, this is a Python statement. I have not finished writing this code. So I want to go to the next line to complete my code. In other programming language, what they do is that they'll just open a curly bracket and then split it into two and then write whatever they want to write there, right? Basically, so that is how it is done. But in Python, you don't use this. You just go to the next, you just click enter, and automatically in Jupyter Notebook, it knows that you are writing Python code, so it automatically indents it for you. So if I press enter, you can see that it didn't go to the beginning of the line. It kind of created a space, right? And it is starting from this place. So I can just say print hello world. So this is a Python code. This is an example of a Python code, and this is how you use an indentation in Python. So this thing now that I just highlighted is an indent. And it is very important that you leave an indent in Python. If you do not put any indent and you do it like this, you've broken the rule, a syntax rule in Python, and you're going to get an error. So if I run this code, you'll see the error I'm getting here is what's called an indentation error. And what is Python telling us? It said that expected an indented block after for statement on line 1. So you are not following this particular rule, and then Python is going to give you throw you an error. So this is basically how you use indentation. This will actually make more sense as we progress, but I need you to understand some of these basic rules that we have in Python. So this is just how you apply indentation. Don't bother about this particular code or what it does. We're going to get to that point where we'll look at for statement, for loop, and all of that. All right. So if I run this, you see that it gives us something like this here. So, but that's just by the way. Let's go back to what we have. So the purposes of indentation, we have improved readability, right? Helps in indicating block of code. So this for loop here that we have here is called a block of code, right? Because this one down and this one up, they are together. They're actually the same code that does the same thing, right? So it is a block of code. So if I come here and I start from the beginning again, I am now starting a new block of code, right? I can come and say print, this is a new block of code, all right? So this is how we organize our code in Python. But if I come here and put this print statement under this for, it now belongs to this for statement, right? But if I remove it from the indentation, you can see that it is now separate from it. It will not it is not together with the for statement again. It will execute separately. So that's how we use indentation to kind of segment and organize our code in Python. All right. So let's move ahead. So any question you have regarding that code, just leave it. Like this is just for illustration purpose. We're going to explain exactly how to write this code. So I've given you an example already. So this one is also an example. Here is a simple example to illustrate Python syntax for defining a function. Right, so this is a function. This is an if statement. Don't think about it too much. We're going to look at that. I'm just trying to show you how we use indentation to organize the code here. So after your first line of code, you leave an indent and then you continue. This one, too, after the first line, you leave an index and continue. So I'm going to explain how exactly this, why exactly we do it like this or this way. So if you get the material, you can click on this link here. It will take you to the Python website where you get more information on the syntax, right? And the indentation. So this is going to like give you different outline and all of that. So yeah, let's go back. There's a lot to actually learn today. Now we're going to be moving to the next item on our in our outline today, which is called variables and data types. Right? Please, is everyone still following? Everyone's still following. If you have an issue with registering, you shouldn't be now that you would be bringing it up. We're having a class now. After the class, you can bring the issue up. You can raise it. So please, let's just focus. If you are signing your attendance, sign it and come back to class. All right. So we don't need distraction, please. All right. So we'll look at variables and data types. So in Python, variables are used to store data. Please let's all focus at this point because these are things that are important. Like variables is one of the core aspects of Python. So variables are used to store data. Now I'm going to give you a real life example to explain what a variable is in programming. So let's just assume let's just use bag for example. We can actually use a bag or say a bag and handbag, basically, let's just say an handbag is a variable. So inside that handbag, we can put different things in the handbag. We can put our phone in the handbag. We can put a lot of things that we might want to use, money, wallet, and all of that in our handbag. So the handbag itself is serving as a variable. It's like a bucket that can accept items and store it. So you can instead of carrying those items one after the other and like stressing yourself and all of that, you can just put everything inside a bag and then take the bag. Let's say you want to carry some items from where you are to another location. You can just put them inside a bag and carry that back to that location and then bring out those items and give it to whoever it is you want to give, or use it to do whatever you want to do. So variable makes that it just helps you with logistics of transferring items. All right. So the same thing in Python, we have what we call variables. So they are like a storehouse where you store data. So the data can be used repeatedly several times as much as you want across your code. All right. So it's like an handbag. If you need it now, you can just bring it to where you need it and then bring out that thing that you've stored inside it. Okay. So sometimes you have a long list of items. Instead of you to be calling or bringing out, or instead of you to be carrying those items as it is, you can just store it inside something and carry that thing to where you want it to be and then bring out that item. So it helps with efficiency. It helps you not to have things scattered everywhere and just disorganized. So that's what a variable is. So let's go back to Python. So variables are used to store data that can be manipulated throughout your program. So we're going to look at that, how it is implemented and all of that, but I need you to understand it first. So all these things are not necessary, but you can read it as well. So no, I won't want to like to confuse you with them. But basically, variables are what you use to store data. Just know that if you don't take anything outside what a variable is, out of what I just explained, variables are used to store data. Full stop. So to assign a value to a variable, you use what we call the equal to operator. So in Python, the symbols that you know, your mathematical symbols, they are called operators. So you have to start getting familiar, or you will need to start getting familiar with these terminologies. All right, these are the things that you might know outside of programming. But when you come to programming, they are called another thing. So you need to understand how to use the right terminologies for the different things that we are going to be looking at. So this equal to here is an operator. All right, so it's an operator. It's called an equal assignment operator. It is called an assignment operator. It is used to assign a value to a variable. Okay, so a variable can take any name, basically, right? Any name you want a variable to take, you can take it as long as you remember the name. So a variable name can be short, it can be A, it can be X, it can be Y, but it can be more descriptive. It can be age, it can be total price, it can be car speed. All right. So this is an example here. So we have 3 variables here. So the first variable here is X, and then we used this particular operator here to assign this value to this variable. So this is the syntax. So everything we're going to be looking at, there are rules. If you miss any of this format, you are going to get syntax error. So you have to follow the rule. So when you want to assign a variable, the variable name comes first. All right, followed by what? The assignment operator, followed by this particular operator here. All right, and then followed by the value. So this value here is a data, and in Python we have different data types. We are going to look at different data types after this variable, so you understand how both of them relate. So a variable can take in different data types. So this first data type is one of the data types we are going to look at. In this case, it's an integer. So this is another variable. It's called name, and followed by this operator, and then assign the value, which is the name of a person. So this is a different data type. So we now have another variable is valid, and then followed by the this operator, and then we have this value assigned to it. All right. So let me quickly look at the data types, and then we're going to demonstrate a little. So you can see we have variables and we have data types. They go hand in hand. When you assign a value to a variable, what you are assigning, that value you are assigning must be one of the data types in Python. So in Python, we have several data types, and it is important. It is the foundation of everything you're going to be doing. So one of the data types is an integer. This is what you already know. You know what an integer is. An integer is a whole number. It doesn't have a decimal place. It's a whole number. All right. So it can be 5 as we have here. It can also be 30. All right. So once you assign any number that is whole, it's an integer. You call it an integer. So you need to start getting familiar with some of these terminologies in Python. So what we did now is just to create a variable, which is age, and assign a value, an integer value to that variable. All right. So the next data type we have here is called a float. So some of these things might be sounding strange to you, but you need to get familiar with them. The next data type we have is called a float, and a float is basically a decimal number. All right, it's basically a decimal number. So that is the difference between a float and an integer. Both of them are numbers, but a float is the decimal number. You can see we have 5.9 here, and then it is assigned to this particular variable, which is height. All right. So we have a string. All right. A string represents textual data, but that's not the technical definition of a string. A string is anything that is enclosed in quotes. In Python, anything that is enclosed in quotes is a string, whether number or whether text or whether anything. It is called a string. I'm going to demonstrate it, but just follow me. Follow me now. We have a boolean. We have boolean. Boolean basically has 2 values, possible values, true or false. So you can take 2 values. You can take either true or false. So once you have a variable, you can name your variable anything basically, but it's the value that matters. So in this case, our value is false. So you've assigned false to this is online. All right. So we have another one. We have list, we have tuple, we have dictionary, and we have set. So a list is basically these last ones I just called. They are collections, right? They are like a collection of different data. Some persons can't see the screen. Is it the general issue? Please refer back to me. Is it the general issue? Like 2 persons, 3 persons. All right. I just want to be sure. Okay, so list, tuple, dictionary, and sets. There are also different data types that we have in Python. We are going to take our time to look at each and every one of them so you understand how to use them. So first of all, let me just demonstrate how we can create variables and all of that. So let's go here. Now I'm going to create a new cell. Now, let me just change this. This is too much. I'm gonna make it 2. All right, so this is okay actually. All right, so we're going to look at how we can create variables in Python. Now, there's a rule. All right, a variable has to be a text. All right, a variable has to be a text, like text characters. You understand, letters. You can't create a variable with a number. Right. So what I'm saying basically is that let's say I want to create a variable of let's say country, a country variable. I'll just say country, and then I'm going to, what is the next thing I'm going to do now? I want to create a variable, like assign a value to a variable. What's the next thing that follows after writing the variable name according to what I said? Exactly. Okay, so I'm going to put this particular operator, but I want us to tell me what this operator name is. This is not just an equal to operator. This is actually not an equal to operator, right? We have a different operator that is equal to. It is different from this in Python. So yes, exactly. This is an assignment operator. Okay. So once you put this particular operator here, Python automatically knows that, okay, anything that follows this operator is going to be transferred to this variable that is named country. All right. That's what I call assignment. You are assigning the value on the right hand side to that thing on the left hand side. So the variable is always on the left hand side, and the word value is what on the right hand side. So this is basically how it is. Variable. Let me see. Now this is not a Python code though. I'm just giving this thing. So let's say variable followed by assignment operator followed by value. All right, so let me put them in system. So this thing I'm writing now is not Python code though, so I'm just trying to give you a format for assigning a variable. So this is how a variable is written. The variable is written first, followed by the assignment operator, and then followed by the value. So the value can take in any data type. You can take in an integer. It can be any of the data type. It can be an integer. It can be a string. It can be a list. It can be a float. It can be a dictionary. It can be a set. So any data type that you have, you can actually have it in your value as your value. All right. Let me change this to Markdown. So we'll just have that there. All right. So we have this. So now following this, so we can now come and say variable, let's say country, let's go with country equal to, and then value, let's say Nigeria. So I'm going to come and say Nigeria. Is this correct? Is this particular this thing I've written now, is it going to give me an error or not, and why? Okay, someone is saying error, not well indented, no quotation. Quotation is meant to be an integer. Error because it's a string. It's supposed to be a string. No string because it text. Okay, I think we're just doing guesswork and all of that, which is very, very nice. That's how we learn. So the reason why this is going to be an error is because this particular value here is supposed to be a data type in Python, right? But this syntax that we have does not conform to any data type. If I run it, let me run it now. Let's see. I'm going to get an error. You see the error I'm getting? I'm getting a name error. So what Python is looking at is looking at this Nigeria here, and it's trying to understand what this Nigeria is. Okay, this Nigeria is not inside code, so that means it's not a string. It's not a number. That means it's neither integer nor float. It is not a list. It's not a dictionary. It's not this and that. So what is it? So is if this Nigeria has not been assigned before, then Python will throw an error because it does not understand what it is. You understand? So we need to always give the appropriate value here. So let's say, for instance, now we have defined a variable Nigeria. Let's come here and say, let me create a cell. And create a new cell. All right. So now let me bring this one up. Okay. So let's say I assign Nigeria to, or I assign the value to Nigeria, and I will say this is the name of an African country. All right. So now this is a variable creation. I've created a variable. This is very correct. So this thing I have here, what's the name of this data type that I have here? This data type. And just quickly, what's the name of this data type? So yeah, this is a string, right? So this string is the correct data type. So if I run it, it's not going to give me an error. So what has happened is that I've automatically assigned this particular data type to this variable Nigeria. So if I now come here and run this now Python is going to look at what we call namespace. It's going to look at its working environment to see if there's any variable that is defined that is called Nigeria. If there is none, it's not going to give me this error. But if there is one, it's not going to give me an error, right? So if I run this, it's not going to give me an error. So if I come here and I'm going to introduce us to another particular code. So it is called print. Print is something we use in Python. I'm going to explain. I know I'm using something because we're going to get to a point where we look at functions, right? But print is a function that we use in Python to display things, anything that we want to display. So for instance, now in this case, we've assigned Nigeria, we've assigned this to country, but we can't actually see any output. So for us to get an output, we mostly use print. All right. So if I come here and say print Nigeria and print country, am I going to get the same output or different output? I'm going to get the same output, right? For the sake of time, I'm actually going to get the same output. So if I run this, I'm going to get this. This is the name of an African country because I'm printing Nigerian variable here. And then I'm printing this country variable because I've assigned values to these two variables. So I can now take that variable and then use them wherever I want to use them. So I assign these variables here, right? I can now maybe after I'm writing code and doing a lot of things, and I want to call, or I now want to like bring back that variable. I can just come here and say country, right? It's going to give me, it's going to return it, it's going to return the value, all right, for me. The reason why I'm not using print here, or print, I didn't use print because Jupyter Notebook, when you use Jupyter Notebook, the last thing you write in a cell is going to be automatically printed. All right. The last thing you write in a cell is going to be automatically printed. So that is why it automatically printed it for us. So this Jupyter Notebook is a very interactive environment for writing Python code. So if I come here and I put if I say print hello world, you see that this country would not be displayed again. But I'm going to let me remove print hello world first and just put hello world. This country will not be displayed again, right? Because it's not the last thing in the cell. All right. The last thing in the cell now is hello world, and it's going to be like displayed here. So this is just the nature of Jupyter Notebook. This is how it works. All right. So we are still dwelling on variables. I'm trying to help you understand how variables work. So you can define a variable by assigning a value to it using an assignment operator. So let's just give some few more examples before we move on to the next thing. So let's say I want to define an age variable. I can come here and say 2020. If I want to define let's say a float variable, let's say height, I can come and say 6.8. I want to define a string variable. I can say okay, as I've used state, let me just use state. I'll come and say Lagos. All right. So I'm defining variables here. I want to define another variable, list variable, right? I can say fruit. Now this is a list. A list is a data type in Python that has opening and closing square bracket. All right, so you know I told you about lists. We have lists here. We have tuple, we have dictionary, and we have set. So these are other types of data types that we have. So we are going to be looking at them and how they behave, right? So for lists have opening and closing brackets. Let me write them out here. Okay. No. All right, so I'll change this to Markdown. So a list is defined by opening and closing square brackets. A tuple is defined by normal brackets. A set is defined by curly brackets. A dictionary too. A dictionary is also defined by curly opening and closing bracket, but there's a difference between this set and dictionary, which we are going to look at moving forward. But these are the different ways we write this collection data type. So whenever you see anything with opening and closing brackets in Python, it is a list. Whenever you see anything with normal brackets, it's a tuple. Whenever you see anything with these curly brackets, it's either a set or a dictionary. So depending on how the values are arranged inside, you can now know whether it's a dictionary or a set. So let's look at how we can create these different collection data types. So for list now, let's say we want to create a data type of different fruits, right? So we come here and create the opening and closing bracket, and then we put the fruits that we have there. So a list can contain different items separated by comma. So a list contains different items in a square bracket separated by comma. So I can come here and say first fruit is apple, all right? And this is a string, obviously. So a list or other collection data type would always contain another data type inside it. So this is a list containing a string inside it. So you want to have several of these strings inside as a collection of fruits. So we have apple, comma, we have orange, close your quotes, don't forget to close your quotes. We have mango, we have pawpaw. So let's just stop here for now. So this is basically a list. So this is the name list, I've given it away. So you have a list of fruits here. So it will always have several items inside the bracket separated by comma. So you can actually have a mix of data types inside the list. So I can actually come here and say and add an integer and add 34. All right, can come here and add 45.7. A list can actually contain the different data types. So if I run this, it's going to run perfectly. All right, so let me do the same thing for tuple fruit. Let's say let me make this fruit lists fruit tuple. So a tuple is almost the same thing as a list, but the difference is that it has a normal bracket. All right, so this is the bracket that a tuple has. So if I copy all this thing and then put it inside there, it has automatically become a tuple. The only difference is just that it has a normal bracket. So the reason why we have these different data types is because of their applications. So when you start coding, you start to realize that there are different situations where you will need a list, and there's another situation when you might need a tuple. So we're going to look at the differences between a list and a tuple, right? And a dictionary as well, and how we can apply. But I need you to understand this fundamental first. I need to understand the data types we have, their syntax, how to define the data type, and all of that. So now we're going to quickly look at the remaining two. We have a dictionary. So let's say, now you see that there was something I did here. I added underscore here while creating my variable. So remember, a variable can be a single word, it can be a single letter, it can be a combination of words, right? But make sure that those words are connected by underscore. If you come here and you put something like this, it's going to give you an error. If you put hyphen, it's going to give you an error. You are breaking the rule, all right? So your variable will have to be, if you want to write a long list variable, make sure that the different words in that variable name are connected by an underscore. And you can't start a variable with a symbol. Okay, you can actually start with a symbol, but you can't start with a number instead. All right, you can start with a number. There are situations where you need a symbol for variables, which is an advanced thing actually. So, but this is basically how you write variables. So make sure that you're understanding this syntax rule. You understand what to do. See, trust me, I'm not expecting you to know everything now. Like, it is very, very normal to not remember all these things immediately. But what I want from you is practice going over what we've explained, and practicing and keep practicing. That way you are going to remember all these things. So it's just going to be an easy thing for you, right? So that's basically just it about variables. So let's conclude that with dictionary. So my dict, I'll come here. So a dictionary, I said, has what particular symbol is used to create a dictionary, what particular bracket is used when creating a dictionary. Exactly. So is a coily bracket, all right? Coily bracket. So we use coily bracket for a dictionary. But before we go to the dictionary, let me just quickly look at set, because dictionary has a little bit more details to the other ones that we have here. So a set is created by using coily bracket, and we can put the same thing that we have here in a set. All right, you can put the same thing we have here in a set. So I'm going to explain to us the behaviors of these different data types, how differently they behave, because you might be asking, why are we having these different things, right? So there are different situations or scenarios where you might need a specific data type for a specific purpose. So they behave differently, all right? They behave differently. So we're going to look at that. And instead, let me just quickly show us what a set does. A set does not allow duplicate. So if I come here and I say Apple, or let's say Apple, all right. If I come and I say my set, you see that we have just one apple here. But when we defined our set, we had two apples. So what a set does is that a set removes duplicate from that particular from the data that you put inside. So if there are duplicate data, it removes them and just give you the unique value. If I come and I put 34 here again, all right, and I come and I put mango, right? So no matter how many mangoes you put here, as long as it is inside a set, it is going to just be one that would be given. So this is a set. But if I come here and let me copy the same thing and paste it in a list and tuple. So a list and tuple, they don't care. List and tuples don't care about duplicates. So, okay, this is what's the variable name? So now, instead of me fixing this, now I want you all to tell me what the problem is now. So why am I getting an error? Why am I getting an error here? I want you to debug this error for me. So this is basically how you will learn. Why am I getting an error? Exactly. My list is not defined, all right? Python looked at the entire environment to check if there's any variable called my list. And since it did not find any variable my list, to give you an error that, oh, my list is not defined, though. Maybe you need to define the list, or there is something else that you actually meant to reference, all right? So I'll come here and just change it to fruit list. Fruit list. So, okay, I have to run this one first. So you can see that we have the duplicate values here. All right, we have apple, we have mango, we have, so you can now see how they behave differently. All right, so this is just one aspect of it. When we go into the definitions or the behaviors of these data types, you're going to understand it more. All right, you're going to understand it more and how differently they behave. It will help you to know when and where to use a particular data type. So the last one here is dictionary. So we're going to look at dictionary. So a dictionary is a data type that has key value pairs, right? Key and value pairs. So let me zoom in. So this is how a dictionary is. Each item in a dictionary is not a single item. Each item is a key and value item. A single item is a key and value item. So if you want to have like 4 items in a dictionary, you have one key and key value item. You have another key value item. You have another key value item, and then you comma, and then you have another key value item. So this is how a dictionary is written. So it's unlike the other ones that we have, where you just have one item, like per one value per item. But in a dictionary, per item we have a key and value. So what do we mean by key value item? So a key basically is a pointer to a value. All right, let's say I want to have a dictionary that has the information of a particular person, right? I can come and say name is the key, right? The key is always like a variable. So it's not always enclosed in a string or in a quote rather. It's not a string. So it's usually a variable. So sorry, a key is usually a string rather, not a variable. So name would be the key, and then followed by colon, and then the value will be the name. Let's just use John. All right. So you can see that this is a single item, key and value. Now for this same John, we want to know his country, or let's say states, or let's just start with country. So the country is going to be another key, and then we're going to have, let's say, Nigeria. All right, so you can see now we have this number of items, right? Let's say we want to have John's age, so we can come and say age, and then we're going to have, let's say, 36. So you can see how we are creating a key value per item in a dictionary. It is not a single item. So for this particular dictionary, how many items do we have in this dictionary now? Based on this key value item that I explained, how many values do we have? How many items rather do we have in this dictionary? Exactly. Like this is actually very nice. It shows that we all understand this whole thing. So we have just 3 items. So this is the first item, this is the second item, and this is the third item. All right. So we can actually expand this dictionary to having multiple values per key. So you can actually assign multiple values to a particular key. You can have one key to multiple values, but you can have multiple keys to one value. So in this case, let's say we want to have a dictionary of 3 persons. Let's say we want to have a dictionary of 3 persons. So we'll come here and say John. So in this case, what data type are we going to use for this value? I want to have 3 names for a single value. What data type am I going to use? Exactly. That is just it. I'm going to use a list. So I'll come here and change and just enclose it with your square bracket and then add extra names. I will say maybe Jane, and I will say let's say Taiwo. All right. So now for this particular key, which is name. So in this case, I'll just change it to names. All right. We now have 3 values assigned to these names. So if you come to these countries, to make it correspond to the number of names we have here, you can just come and make these countries also 3. All right, so I'll come here to make it clear now. Let it come down a little. Okay, so I'll have Nigeria, I'll have, let's say, Ghana, and I also have, let's say, Nigeria. All right, so you can see that each name here is corresponding to a country here. So you make sure that we have the same number of values for each keys. So in this case, I'm going to have 3 age in a list. I'll come and say 36, 24, and 45. All right, so this is a dictionary. So a dictionary is actually a very interesting data type. All right, so you can use it in a lot of situations, right? It comes in handy. All right, it comes in handy. So yeah, someone is asking why not tuple. You can use tuple as well. You can actually use tuple. It won't really change anything. But I'm going to, when we get to the point of explaining the different data types, I'm going to show you why a list is preferred in some situations, right? So this is a dictionary, this is a set, this is a tuple, this is a list, this is a string, this is a float, this is an integer. So these are the basic data types we have in Python, and we're going to be working with them throughout the course of this program. So I need you to understand exactly how to use what this variable, these data types, how to assign them to a variable and how to create them generally, and their syntax as well. So if I come here and I miss a particular syntax, let's say in this variable, I remove comma between Nigeria and Ghana, I have actually broken a syntax. So if I run this, let's see. Let me remove this from here. Okay, let's try to break one of these here. Let's say I remove something from this particular dictionary and I run it. I'm going to get a syntax error, right? Because I've messed up with the arrangement, with the syntax of this particular dictionary. So you need to understand how to follow the rules to the letter. Like computers are not like human beings. Computers need you to explain everything to them exactly, with full stop being where full stop is, with comma being where comma is, because if you don't, it's going to throw you an error, like it doesn't understand what you are saying. For human beings can basically just try to understand where you're coming from, but computers like are very logical, right? You have to be correct with your syntax perfectly. All right. So that's just it about that. I believe that should do justice to some of the data types we have. So a little trick that you can use to know your different data types is using a function called type. So I've introduced you to one function before, which is what? Print. So I've introduced you to one function. So the other function I've introducing us to now is type function type. So anytime you have a function, you always have an opening and closing bracket in front of it. This is not a class this is not a function class. We're going to look at functions next week, hopefully, right? But these are inbuilt functions in Python, which can be used to do different things. So print function is used to display your text or to display your data. All right. The type function is used to tell you the data type of a particular variable or a particular data. So if I come here and put let's say age is a variable, right, that I have created. So if I run this, you see I'm getting type here. So you can see I'm trying to read the messages in the group. The class will soon be ending. It's ending by 6, so we are rounding up already. So I just want to quickly show something. So the type function tells us the data type of that value or variable. So in this case, age is an integer. As you can see here, we defined age to be 20. So age is what? An integer. If I change it to height, so height is a float. All right. So we have height here, which is 6.8. If I change it to just 6 and I run this, okay, running your cell, you need to use Control Enter. All right. So if your cursor is inside the cell, just hold Control and Enter at the same time. Control Enter is going to execute your cell, or you can do Shift Enter. Shift Enter is going to run it and then create a new cell for you. But most times I just use Control Enter because I'm not yet ready to create a new cell. So you can see that height has been changed to an integer. So if I ask for the type here, it tells me that it's integer. So let's just change it back to a float. All right, so this is it. So that is a float now. So let's look at the other one. State here is a string. So you can see str. So this is how it is represented. All right. So a string. The string is the data type of this particular variable. So we have fruit lists. So this is a list, right? So this is basically how you know the data type you are working with by using the type function. In the next class, I'm going to answer this question as a refresher. All right, so tuple, fruit tuple, this is a tuple. My dict or my set is a set. You can see it here, set. And my dict is a dict. All right. So anything that you want to know that you're not really sure, just put it into this type function. It's going to tell you the data type of that particular data. All right. So that's going to be where we'll stop for today's class. Right. We have other things to look at. We have to look at mutable versus immutable data type, but we need to look at type conversion, converting one data type to another. It's very possible to convert a data type to another data type. We will also look at print statement, which I've explained already. We'll look at comment and doc strings. We'll look at, I think that's where we're going to stop for this. Okay, we're also going to look at arithmetic operations. Okay, so we'll look at arithmetic operations. And in the next, after this particular one, we're now going to go into the more advanced aspect of Python. So today and next week, Saturday, we're going to wrap up with this aspect. And then starting from Sunday next week, we're going to move into the next phase of Python. All right. So we are actually making progress, and I believe that this has given you an idea on how to approach Python, what Python is, its importance, the syntax and indentation, what variable is, and what the different data types we have in Python, right? So I don't want to overwhelm us, right? So we're just going to stop here for today. I'll be giving an assignment on what we've done so far, and I expect you to submit your assignment, I think, by Thursday, all right? So every other information you need will be posted on the group, on the announcement group, and also on the platform as well. So for the class next week, we might actually start by 3, right, depending, right? So just have in mind that classes officially start by 3, right? But I might start the class by 4 as well also. So if we need to cover a lot of things, we'll start by 3, but if we don't have to, right, we'll just start by 4 to 6. So that's just going to be it for today's class. Now I'm going to be leaving the floor open for questions. For those that might have questions, please raise your hand. I'll be taking just the first 5 persons. The first 5 persons, that is okay. I think so I have let me see on my screen here. So I have Nigeria Nash. I'm sorry if I didn't get that correct, but I saw you raising your hand first. So please unmute yourself and ask your question. Nash, can you hear me? You're on mute already. Just unmute yourself. Like click on the button and then ask your question. All right, so we don't have time. Let's go to the next person. Let's see. Sunday Salahu. Salahu Sunday, please ask your question. Hello, Sunday, you're on mute now. Please ask your question. Unmute yourself and ask your question. All right. I don't know if you all can hear me. Please let me know if you can hear me in the class, please, because
Hello, sir. Hello,
yeah,
sir.
I can hear you.
Good evening, sir. And thanks so much for the class. It was a wonderful one. My
Yeah.
question, very quickly, is the number one. Okay, I think you answered the first one, which was, do you have to start with print? So I later got it that you don't have to. And oh, the second question is, can you switch from code to Markdown on the same page at any time? Is it possible to always switch on the same page? Then my third question is that is it possible to write in that that square bracket that comes up once you try to create a new cell, or you just go to the cell, the rectangular shape that comes below the square bracket? I don't know if you get my questions.
Okay, I think I got your second question, but I'm not sure I got your um third question. So for your
Okay.
second question, yeah, you can switch between Markdown and code at any time. If you've written code already, no matter how long the code is, you can always just let me share my screen and just show you exactly. So if you are written code already, let's say for instance, you've written code, you can just come back here and change it to Markdown. So everything will be converted to Markdown. So if I do Control Enter, you see it's no longer recognized as a code again. So this is like a Markdown now. All right. So you can actually switch at any time. Just double tap on it to open the edit function, and then you can just switch it to code here, and then click on enter. So for your third question, I don't really get. Can you come again?
Okay, sir. So I noticed that each time you create a new cell,
Yeah.
there is a square bracket that comes up. Yeah, the square
This
bracket.
one.
Yeah. No, no, no. Hop before the rectangular
Okay, this one.
cell. Yes.
Okay.
Why don't we write anything inside that place? Or is it just will it just come up
Okay.
as a result of creating a new cell?
Okay. This square bracket here is basically to indicate the number of time you've run your code. All right. So you can see here, this one has a number here. This one has a number. This one has a number. But this one doesn't have a number because you've not done anything. So if I come here and say 2 plus 2 and I run it, you see that it has assigned a number to. So like this is the 52 time you've run your code. So this is the 51 time. So depending on how many times you've executed your code, it's going to be assigned a number. It's just like a way to keep track of like what you are doing, all right? So you can't actually write anything inside that particular square bracket. I hope that is clear.
Very clear. Thank you, sir.
All right. So let's see what else. Hamza Abdullahi. Let me unmute you. Abdullahi Shafiu Hamza Abdullahi. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. Abdullahi Hamza, you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. I can hear you. Please go on. Go on with your question. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next person. Prudence, Egu Prudence. Let me see. Prudence. Okay, your hands are now up again. We have Dada Musubao. Okay, you are on mute. Can you ask your question now, Dada? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, unmute yourself, please, and ask your question. You are on mute now. If I mention your name, I hope I got your name correctly. If I don't, just correct me once you come up. But please unmute yourself and ask your question. We don't really have time. Okay, so let's move to the next person on my list. So we have Adebola Olajubi. Adebola Olajubi. So okay, Prudence is here. All right, Prudence, you're allowed to speak now. Please ask your question. Prudence, if you can hear me, your hand was up. You can ask your question. I'll mute you.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening. Hello, good evening. I can hear you. Please go on.
Yeah, I can hear you. I think my network is disturbing. Can you hear me? Good evening.
Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I think I missed out on the class a couple of times. Like I didn't really follow up very well. So I want to know if the recording of the class. I mean, the way it is, the video, not just the audio, is going to be sent out this night so that I can make use of it. That's just my question.
Okay. Yeah, the recording will be made available. It might not be this night, but at least by tomorrow it should be made available. All right. So you have the entire week to go through it and all of that. So, but definitely it will be made available. So just keep out. Just watch out for that on the group. So it will be posted once it's ready. Okay. I think we'll take I don't know if Nash is ready to speak now. Your hands are still up, so I'm unmuting you now. If you can speak, just unmute yourself.
Okay, hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Thank you. So my question is, while installing Panda, right?
Anaconda?
Sorry, while installing Anaconda, so when it asks for select installation type, the video was like you could just go with all users, but some selected just me. I just wanted to know what's like the major difference, because I read up on it and it seems like there's no problem. So which one should we really go for? Or if you've done anyone, that's fine.
Basically, what that means is just is trying to know if you want the app to be accessible to just you, because when you on your system, you are a user, all right? You are a single user. Someone else can create a new account in your system and be another user. Someone else can. So you can have multiple persons using a single system, right, with different account or user account. So what the just me mean is that you want to install that application for just yourself. So if you another person opens their account or their user account, they won't have access to the Anaconda app. Why? So if you install for all users, so regardless of who is using the system, or regardless of the user using the system, they would be able to use the Anaconda app. So it doesn't really make any difference whether you install for, because basically I feel you might be the only person using your system. Like, I don't know. So it's not a big deal actually. So regardless of the one you selected, you're actually good to go.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. So it's also a little bit like for privacy and all, but regardless, it doesn't have any effect on the whole application.
No, it doesn't.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. So I think we're going to be calling it a day here. Any other question can be typed in the group, and just have me tagged. If you have any question, I'm going to go through them and respond to as many as I can. So thank you very much for your time today, and just watch out for information that will be dropping on the announcement group. Very, very important as regards the assignment and some other things that you need to know. So yeah, we'll draw the curtain at this point. Thank you for your time, and ensure that you at least drop at least a point that you picked from this class. Like, this is a tradition that we do here, right, since the first cohort. Like, after every class, you drop something on the group that you learned. Okay, I learned this, I learned that. So just, it helps you. Like, trust me, it helps you. So whether it's 5 point, 4 point, but at least drop a point. So I'm hoping to go through them and see as many as I can. So thank you very much. And do have a wonderful night's rest and a splendid week. Good night.